All right, checking the audio here. Uh, Commercials during my live stream. Okay. All right, just testing the audio. All right, just testing the audio. All right, that's a little better. Still gonna try to improve it some. All right, well, that's all I got. Let's see, does this help? It does. I try to get a little closer to my face. How's that? What about if I stick it on my hat? How interesting. It was really picking up a squeaking noise that I couldn't even hear from a fan nearby, so that was interesting. Okay, I'm going to turn my audio down, so if you guys have any issues with the quality of audio or anything, let me know. Once we get started here, I'll probably zoom in the camera a little bit and kind of show you what all products we're going to be dealing with here. Um, so, anyway, you got the clock up there. It's 1:50. We've got a little time here before we get started. All right, what's up, guys? Welcome to tubrepairstore.com. Let's see if we're actually functioning here. Yeah, okay. All right. Hopefully you can hear me okay. If you cannot hear me, message us in the chat. I'll be watching the chat from a different phone. What we're working on today is we're going to repair two holes. We're going to try to repair two holes with one large wall repair kit. So this is what you would get in the mail from us. We say this will work up to a baseball size hole. This would be basically a baseball size hole is what we're going to consider that. I do think we'll have enough product to go beyond this repair, possibly even do this repair too. So be patient with us. We haven't done a lot of live videos, but we're gonna just take our time, go through this. If you have any questions, put them in the chat. We'll try to keep an eye on that and answer any questions that might come up. So I might grab the camera a couple times. I might change the angle if I feel like the angle's not good. Also, we're going to go through all the different tools and everything that, aside from the kit, everything that you want to bring to make this repair go smooth. So let us know if you have any questions. And yeah, okay. All right, so first thing I'm going to do is I'm just going to show you what all we have here that we're going to be working with. So the first thing is we've got our large wall repair kit, okay? This is a standard kit. This is just one kit that's not extra glass putty, no nothing. We're going to see how far we can take that kit. We've got a little GoPro set up there so we can get some more footage. Now I'm also going to bring... you want to have a respirator, so that's important. There's going to be some odors and stuff along with the products. You definitely want to wear one. We're actually going to wear one of our disposable P95 respirators that we sell on our website. I've got good ventilation in here, and so I like to demonstrate how those work as well. I am going to have a power drill and some drills available. Generally, you'd only need about maybe an 1/8 inch or possibly smaller drill bit, especially on a wall repair. So we're looking at a wall repair hole like that. And then if we have enough product, we'll move down to this one and hit that hole as well. So on a wall repair, the only thing you would need a drill bit for is to cut off the end of a crack. So we don't have a lot of cracking shooting off of that damage. I'll show you that one more time. It's not a lot, maybe a little bit over there on the left side, but really not concerning to me. So I don't know if we'll drill a hole on this one or not. Paper towels, got about half a roll of paper towels there. That should be plenty. I have a little 2.5, 3 gallon shop vac. That is a Bauer vac from Harbor Freight. Those have been really nice. They hook up well to our Black & Decker 5-inch orbital sander. So that's going to be handy to have. Especially when you're working on a project this size. That's going to help you really sand all your putties. A standard blow dryer, I think that was 15 bucks when I got it on Amazon. Extension cord splitter so I can plug it all in. And then I've got a trash bucket and a seat on top of it, which makes it handy sometimes, but you don't have to have that. So that's everything we got. Pretty simple setup. If you've got the kit, you're going to be able to make this repair using all of that equipment. So let me try to move this in here a little bit, get a good angle for us to really kind of focus on this first damage spot. And one thing to do is, keep an eye on the clock over there. Now also notice we are working in a hot shop right now. It's 97 degrees in the shop. That means our setup times are going to be quite a bit faster than it would be in an air-conditioned bathroom or something like that. So keep that in mind, and I'll talk about that as we go through. Um, so anyway, let's go ahead and get started. So again, like I said, we're working on this damage here. There's really no cracking that I'm concerned of coming off the end of there. Um, but we're going to do that. So I'm just going to rearrange some things, kind of get comfortable here. You know, one like this, I'll just sit right on the edge of the tub. And that makes it, it's not too strenuous of a project, to be honest. Most of it just takes patience. So, you know, if you can have a little patience, that'll go a long way when you're working on this project. So, let's see here. I'm going to try to get the angle better so we can all be in this together. Okay. Okay. So I think the first thing I'll do, actually, let's back that out. First thing I'm going to do is I'm going to open this thing up. I forgot my knife. 1 second. All right. A little bit of a rocky start here, but we'll get it going. We'll get it going smooth. Okay. All right, so let's I do like to have an X-Acto knife on hand. That's always a handy tool. So I just recommend having an X-Acto knife on you at all times when you are not sleeping. That's generally how I do it. But anyway, so open up your kit. First thing you're going to find a little pamphlet that's going to have an instructional video, information about the company, anything you'd want to know. It's going to have information on all three of our kits, as well as anything else you want to know really about the company. Right now we're giving away some swag, so you get a little notepad, you get a card, so if you ever need to reach out to us, our contact information is on there. You get an awesome pin, a fantastic pin. This should go in your treasured items box. Now, stir stick here. This stir stick is slide that down. Okay, the stir stick, good for scooping putty. So that's what we're going to use that for. The instruction manual. People, this thing is worth so much. This QR code right here, scan this. This is going to take you to a very detailed instructional video. Walk you through the entire repair and through a large repair too. So scan that QR code. That is a video that most people do not see on YouTube because it's so long. It doesn't get a lot of traction, but it's only about, in this kit, it's about 40 minutes long. But that includes like an unboxing and some other things. So watch this, refer to this, contact us if you have any questions. It's so important. People that watch the video, they get it right. It looks great. People that don't watch the video, they have trouble generally because you can't just guess on a lot of this stuff. You got to like know what you're doing a little bit. So, packing paper. Okay. Now, if you order one of our respirators, that's what it'll come. It'll come in just a plastic bag. So, you know, these are good respirators. P95, this is not an N95 mask, but a P95 mask. It actually has a carbon filter sewn into it. You can tell it's a lot thicker than a normal N95 mask. So, you know, these are good things to have. We're going to wear this one today. The next thing is, I'll just go ahead and pull out our sprayers. Our sprayers are sitting down here on top of each other. We're going to set those off to the side. I don't need those right now, but I've got one full spray system and then a backup spray system. That's going to be, you know, handy. Really, the backup spray system is not necessary unless you have a sprayer that malfunctions. So, kind of, you know, keep that in mind. You really shouldn't need it. One sprayer is going to go a long way. My supply bag. One of the first things I want to pull out of this supply bag is going to be gloves. I will put those on right as I start the project. So I've got my gloves, and then the other thing that I'm going to pull out of this bag pretty well immediately, and you want to have this nearby. I'm going to go ahead and pull out the 80 grit sandpaper. Keep that bag pretty close to you because you're going to pull out some other stuff as well. We're going to pull out that putty spreader here in just a little bit. And so keep that close to you. Put your gloves on right when you start the project because, you know, basically just going to keep you clean. You got to keep you clean. So let me see. How's our volume? Can anybody hear me? Please tell me. Please tell me. Okay. If you can hear me okay, if you could comment and just let me know that you hear me okay, that would help quite a bit. Okay, I'm a little concerned about my volume here. Okay, hang on one second. Let me check and see. Can we hear? Okay, we got one thumbs up. If you could type in the chat, you hear me fine, that would make me feel a lot better, and I'll just keep going. Let me... Have you ever seen a tub break? The tub repair companies... Oh, sorry. We're rookies here, and I apologize. We will not be rookies.
The Federal Reserve and those latest minutes.
Let's not go there. Okay. All right. I feel like I can hear myself now. So. Yeah. Right. Yeah. A little rocky. But anyway, hopefully we won't be rookies forever here. So I'm sorry about the delay. We'll go ahead and get started again. Keep going. So. As I'm getting into it, the first thing you're going to want to get ready for is going to be kind of prepping the damage. So some of the other things in this box, the glass putty and the finish putty. Let's set this behind me. Got the glass putty and the finish putty. These are our repair materials, so we're going to use these glass putty first, and then finish putty over the top of it. I'm going to set these down for now. And then I'll also just kind of show you what's in this box. Mostly coating materials, except you do have a tube of blue cream hardener. There is a chance this tube would be possibly a larger tube. Sometimes we send out larger tubes because our manufacturer sends us large tubes as well. Either way, you're going to have more than enough blue cream hardener in your kit to activate all of your putty. So don't be thrown off by that. Just use the right ratio, the right amount. You're going to have a little bit left over either way. So if you get a bigger tube, or even by chance if you get red cream hardener, same everything. It's just a different color. So you can use that just like normal. Okay, so just be aware of that. If you get a bigger tube or a red tube, don't be alarmed. Give us a call if you have any questions. So I'm going to set that over next to the putties because that's where we're going to be using that. Now the next thing you want to pull out of here, and this is just going to be something you want to do right out of the gate. It's going to be our acetone. This is our bottle of acetone. This is going to be enough acetone to get us through, one kit. Probably have some left over. Now everybody says, well, that straw is too long, I can't get it down there. Just push it down there, screw it on. It's gonna work. It's gonna fit. There is a locking mechanism on this sprayer, so you do want to be sure to unlock it, get it spraying. We're spraying, so perfect. I've got my acetone. You're going to use that basically throughout the project, and so just have that on hand. Now everything else in this kit, in this bag here, is paints, reducer, catalyst, and primer. You're going to use these whenever it comes to actually painting the project at the end. So I'm just going to set this box off to the side. I do not need that right now. So right now, the thing that I need right now is going to be my 5-inch orbital sander and my 80 grit sandpaper. And you could use a 120 grit sandpaper too. Now, the reason why I chose an 80 grit sandpaper is, hang on, bear with me, and I'm going to show you. I'm going to change the angle here a little bit so we can get a closer view of the hole that we're going to focus on first. Okay. So if you look at that hole, you've got some rough edges, really where that fiberglass is really showing. You know, you want to basically be able to knock away, like here's some protrusion. You want to knock that away. 80 grit sandpaper is going to handle that better than the 120 grit sandpaper. So that's why I'm going to start out with the 80 grit sandpaper. I'm really going to just smooth that whole edge out. You don't want any sharp edges or protruding things. Yeah, I'm trying to do that, and I'll try to continue to do that. If you have any specific questions, let me know, and I'll try to keep an eye on the chat as well. But anyway, so I'm going to be, you know, basically prepping this whole area, because you can't just repair this spot. One this big, you're going to have to, you know, make it a little thick over this spot so it's strong. But then you're going to feather it out, and so the wider you make this patch, the less noticeable that contour will be, even if it's just an 1/8 inch thick over that hole. You want to spread that out over a little ways. So you want to feather that out, and that's what we're going to be doing. But I am going to start with my 80 grit sandpaper, just so we give it a nice smooth edge there. And that's going to help a lot. Now, when I am sanding, you're probably going to hear sander and vacuum. I'm not going to be talking a lot. Hopefully I can keep the sanding to a minimum, but this is a larger repair, so I will do that. Mundo, thank you for your feedback. I really appreciate that. If you've got any tips or anything that you'd want to know in particular, I'll try to do my best to think of everything. But if you have any specific questions, don't hesitate to ask us what you're thinking. Okay, so I've got my vacuum hooked up to my orbital sander, and I am just going to start prepping this damage. So I'm going to go ahead and put on my mask here, and hold on one second. You know, when you put that mask on, just go ahead and pinch that nose piece, get it nice seal around your face, and I'm gonna try to. Okay. All right, so that's gonna be a loud noise for a second. Just bear with me. This shouldn't take long. We're just gonna prep the area, just kind of around here, and just really getting it ready for the glass putty. All right, so that is it for prepping it. So next thing, you always want to do this after you sand. Anytime you sand any surface, you're going to want to wipe it down. So this is where I take my acetone. Okay, real quick. we do need to talk about the acetone test. Okay. This I know is a fiberglass tub. So it's got this gel coat on here. This gel coat is not going to have any reaction to acetone. It is do just fine with that. Now, some acrylics, which are plastics, can react poorly to acetone. And by that, I mean they are going to either it could dull the surface, or it could even be like a lower grade plastic, and it could actually like kind of melt the surface a little bit, make it sticky, which essentially is just going to dull the surface even more. So if you're working on a plastic tub or like an acrylic tub of some sort, you need to be aware of how that acrylic reacts and how quickly it reacts to your acetone. So what you want to do is you want to take your paper towel, get it wet with acetone, and just wipe it right next to the damaged area like this. Okay? It's going to tell you immediately, is it getting sticky? Is it dulling the surface? Anything like that. So now I know that's going to be covered up. If it dulled the surface or got sticky, it'll be covered up when I finish repairing it. But you want to do that right out of the gate. So if you're unsure what kind of tub you're dealing with, if this is a acrylic overcoat or a gel coat, it's going to react differently. So this is a gel coat, standard fiberglass, tub with a gel coat over the top. Not going to have any trouble with the acetone. So I'm going to take my acetone. I'm really just going to wipe it off. You want to clean it up, get all that dust off, because the next thing we're going to do is actually we're going to put some mesh tape on there to bridge this hole. So a lot of people think you got to put something behind it to support it. That is not our approach. I don't think that's the most efficient approach, and not always the most effective approach. If you rely on putting something behind the damage and you don't have it on there firm, it's really going to be actually worse for you than if you just go over the top. So be aware of that. So the next thing is we're going to look in here. Let me back this out so everybody can see what, kind of what we're doing here. Sorry, perhaps I will hire a cameraman if we sell a whole lot more kits, and I could hire one. I might do that. Okay. All right, so inside your paper cups, you're going to have this mesh tape, okay? This mesh tape is folded on itself, so don't be fooled. Don't unfold it, a couple times and think that's it. You get about 4 feet of this mesh tape. So really make sure that you're unfolding it all the way. This is still in half. So find the end of it, figure out how it's folded, and then peel it back one more time. And then you're going to get, a 4-foot piece of mesh tape here. Okay, big mesh tape. That's going to cover a lot of space on here. Like I said, I've only got my box cutting knife, so I'm gonna zoom this out so we can see a lot more of what I'm doing. Hold on one second here. Maybe in the future I would go with a vertical. I probably should go with a vertical. I wonder if I go. Nope, sorry. Well, in the future, we'll go with a vertical view. But for now, I'm going to go like that. Okay. So all I'm going to do is I'm going to cut strips of mesh tape off of this big piece. And I am just using that on my box here. And I'm just cutting a strip. I'm just going to take it. I'm going to go right across with it. Now, the overlap, you want to have about 1 inch to, maybe as much as 1 inch. So anywhere between probably 1/2 inch and 1 inch would be good. When you're sticking it on there, overlap the first piece, overlap it by, maybe 1/2 inch or so. That's going to give some durability there. So I'm just taking mesh tape and I'm just going to cut it, stick it on there, and this one almost reached. I'm just going to use one one more small piece just to make sure we get full coverage of that hole. So there we go. And don't, when I get done with this, I'm going to trim down the excess. So that's going to be, don't worry too much about how much excess you have. Now I've got enough mesh tape, and this hole's kind of big enough to where sometimes I like to go crosshatch, like do a little crosshatch pattern. That's gonna make it stronger over that hole, especially when you're putting your first coats of putty on there. The first coats of putty can be kind of goopy and heavy, and you don't want that. You don't want to be pushing your mesh tape into the hole. We've done that. It's no fun. And so just, go light. Don't stick a ton of glass putty on there, and we'll go over that here in just a second. But anyway, the crosshatch pattern still overlapping, going that way. Now I'm going to trim it up. So I've got my box cutter. I'm just going to keep it, a good 3/4 of an inch around the perimeter there. And just cutting it, and don't worry about, putting a box cutter mark in your shower wall, because we're going to fix it. So don't stress about that. And now I'm just going to peel it off how I want it. All right, so right now I'm just working. I'm not watching the chat. I will check the chat here shortly, and we'll try to make sure we're answering any questions. If you got any questions, put them in the chat. We'll definitely be checking the chat while things are setting up. Okay. All right, so I've sanded that. I've prepped it. I have sanded it down, and I've trimmed it up. Okay, so we got it nice, clean, ready to go for glass putty here. That is basically a fully prepped damage there, so that's what we want. Okay, so now next thing, I had this much mesh tape left after I cut that up, and I covered it both ways. So like we say, enough for a baseball size hole, and we're even going to have enough left over. I'm going to set this off to the side. If you want to keep it sticky, I would fold it in half on itself so it's not picking up a bunch of dust on the sticky side. Fold that extra mesh tape in half if you want to save it, and just stick it to itself. It's not super sticky, so it's not going to it's not like duct tape or something. And I'm just going to set this off to the side. Maybe I'll put it back in my supply bag, because we're going to use it if we have enough material, and we can go down and repair that second hole. So we're going to try to do that. Okay. Now we're on to step number 2. So that is step 1, prep your damage. Okay, that from sanding it, putting the mesh tape on, that is prepping your damage. Now, step 2 is going to be applying your glass putty. Okay, so we've got our glass putty here, and we're going to be applying it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this box up, and I'm going to just use a piece of this box for my mixing pad. You don't have to cut this box. If you've got some other cardboard, use that, or paper plates are handy and easy. But we don't have paper plates on hand. So I'm going to do this I'm trying to do this really like I would do a repair if I was a customer and all I had were the tools on hand. I'm not using, and always, try to cut the knife away from you. Don't cut it towards you. Be responsible with your knife. That's going to be important. Okay, so I've got my mixing pad here, pretty simple. And all we're going to do is, you're not going to try to just set only one layer. On a hole this size, it's going to take you a couple layers to actually get this firm. So don't think you got to just put one layer on there. That's not the case. I wouldn't even recommend trying it like that. I think you're going to want to do multiple layers just to make sure it gets strong enough. So, all right, next thing. on one second. I need. Okay, so this is one thing that would be handy is you could have a putty knife or something, but basically just something to open. You know, a butter knife should work, but it's just a, you know, opening a paint can. So have something on hand to open that up with. Okay, here's our glass putty, a nice tub repair blue, which is pretty cool. We're happy to have that color. Now this stuff is probably one of the stronger odors of what you'll be dealing with. I can start to smell it, so I'm going to go ahead, put my mask on, and okay, so tell me if you have any trouble understanding what I'm saying, if you got any questions. But basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my here, I'm just going to scoop some out. If you wanted to kind of mix up that liquid on top, you know, it's gonna act fine either way, but mixing up that liquid on top might help. And I'm just gonna get a good scoop of it. I'm gonna put that out there, and it's really, you'll be surprised at how much this actually, how far this goes. I might take a second little scoop. So, you know, I've used about a quarter to a third of the can at this point. There's really more in there than you might think. So I'm gonna put the top on that, set this off to the side. I'm actually gonna wipe this stick off because I don't want to be, you know, making a mess. You don't have to be in a hurry. Don't be in a panic. Just take your time as you're going through this. And basically, you know, the more patient you are with your motions, the cleaner and the easier this project is going to be. So I've got this cleaned off. I don't have to worry about this now. So I'm going to set that down there with the glass putty. Here's what we're dealing with. I've got this on my pad. Okay, and I'll raise that up there. Now this tube, sometimes you want to knead. It's called kneading. Knead that tube around. Make sure you get it all mixed up. Sometimes if it sits for a long time, it can have like a watery substance that'll be at the top. So anyway, I'm going to pull this up here, and I'm going to show you. Okay. All right, so here's this. Doesn't take much, okay? That's what I'm working with. That's plenty of blue cream hardener. That's going to mix up fine. Okay, so then, you know, I'm just going to stir it up. You know, essentially you're just trying to get rid of any real dark blue streaks. So I always do this. This is my method for mixing it. It always mixes it up nicely. And you'll also have some leftover on your spreader. So be sure to wipe your spreader off as you're doing this. Sorry if I'm not doing this a good job keeping this in the frame. Okay, so I'll mix it around, and then I'll kind of fold it over, kind of wipe it out a little bit. That's gonna get you an even consistent mixture. Just scoop it a few times. Now remember, once you've got it mixed, this is mixed, so my clock is running. I've got about, you know, in normal circumstances, about 2 to 3 minutes to work with this. Keep in mind we're pushing 98 degrees right now, and so you want to be aware of the temperature in there. If you're really above, you know, 75, 80 degrees, you might have a faster set time. So just be aware of that. Okay, you'll see. I didn't even need that second scoop, and I didn't think I would, to be honest. So here we are. Got plenty of glass putty. We'd probably be able to repair 2 holes like this, to be honest. I may have to recalibrate what I tell people. I do, you know, basically we like, just keep in mind, we like to under promise and over deliver. So if we, you know, we always say a baseball size hole, you're going to have plenty of material to repair a baseball size hole with one kit. Okay, it's starting to set up. So you'll notice it starts getting a little more firm. Once you feel it starting to get a little more firm, like this here, see, it's starting to get clumpy. Okay, you want to stop, because once it gets clumpy, it's really going to make this much harder to smooth out, to sand. Stop. As soon as you feel like it's starting to clump up, just stop. So there, see, it's already, there. So as soon as you start to feel it clump up or anything, you got to just stop, call it a day, and then let it set. Now, a couple ways to clean this. If you've got a nice putty knife on hand, you can scrape this stuff off as it sets up, and it's just super easy to scrape off. So that's one way to do it. I'm going to scrape most of it off since it's already set. Generally, I like to finish working with my material. It hasn't set yet, and then I can easily just wipe it off on the pad and then use acetone to wipe it off. So I'm going to get the most off I can with my putty knife here, and then I'm gonna use some acetone to clean it the rest of the way. All right, so you see how fast that's set there. Like I said, we're working in a 98-degree shop, so I knew my set times were going to be much faster, so you got to be that. In our instructions, we talk about the set times and how long you have to work with the material. If you're dealing with maybe you're in a unit where the air's not on and it is hot in there, just be aware that your set times are going to be a lot shorter, with your putties especially. So just be aware of that, and always clean up your stuff in between steps. That is going to help you immensely on this project. Now, this mixing pad, I'm going to go ahead and get my trash can opened up here, and I'm going to see if I can scrape some of this stuff off in here. Yeah. There I go. So I scraped off most of that excess, kind of cleaned it up a little bit, and now I'll just use the other side of this for the next batch. Okay, so like I said, I wasn't trying to just, one and done this thing. I knew with a hole that size, I'm going to be using a couple coats, at least 2 coats, possibly more. But you can tell it's already setting up. It is warm. You're going to feel this stuff heat up. So as you kind of lightly touch it, you'll kind of feel, oh, it's getting warm. So it is still activating and reacting. You just want to check, is it transferring to my glove? No, it is not. So once it gets to the point where it's set enough to where it's not sticky or gooey, it's not gooey. It'll still be a little sticky, as you can hear, but it's not gooey, and it's not gooing onto my glove. You can go ahead and apply your next coat, especially in a situation where you're just trying to build it up, get it a little thick. I'm not even going to worry about sanding it, so I don't have to wait for the full sanding time of 30 minutes. I can just go ahead with another coat. We're going to beef that up. We're going to spread out the patch a little bit, and we're going to basically we're going to beef this up, get it as strong as we want it, and then we're going to go ahead and sand it, and we'll test its strength again. So here we go. We're going to do our second coat of this. Now, my second coat, sometimes if you're dealing with a very large hole, your first coat needs to be pretty light. You can only get so much product on the surface at once anyway. It does seem like you get too much product, and you can't really get it all to get on there very well. So if you get too big of a batch, you're going to find yourself just pushing around globs of product, and you don't want to be doing that either. So I'm going to use about the same amount, maybe a little bit less, because I had so much excess last time. But I am going to spread this patch out a little bit, so it might use up a little bit more. But this should be plenty to go ahead. That's plenty. I think we'll just go with that. All right. And like I said, don't get in a hurry. Take your time. Go slow. Keep your stuff clean. It is going to really keep your stress level down if you go through this thing and you just take your time, clean things as you go. Don't get in a hurry. It's just just be patient going through this thing. So you'll see, we really, in reality, I think we probably started this closer to like, I don't know, 215, 220. Okay, so I've got that cleaned off. I've got this again, and I am just going to do this again. Now keep in mind my set times. Okay, that's plenty. Doesn't take much. The actual minimum ratio is 1 part hardener to 50 parts putty. That's 50. So 1 part hardener to 50 parts putty. That's the minimum ratio. I think we're in the ballpark of that here. So as we do, stir it around. Once you feel like you got that pretty well kind of mixed up and off there, do wipe off your spreader because you're going to see some hardener on your spreader. And the way this one's shaping up, this may be our last one. We'll see. We'll see. All right. So, I got my batch ready. I took about half of it, and I'm just going to try to stick it on there and see how it feels, see what we got going on, see where it needs it. So now I'm going to take the other half and just spread it on. Kind of work your putty just at a slight angle around the edge. That's how I like to do it, is kind of just go around the edge, feel for some high spots, kind of work your putty around. And then remember, once it starts to stiffen up on you, call it a day. Call it a day. It doesn't have to be perfectly smooth. It's not our goal for this product. Our goal for this product is to make it strong. So that's good there. We're going to let that set for a second. And then I'm probably going to let that set up, sand it, and then we'll test the strength before and after we sand it, because you don't want to test the strength before you sand it and then sand it too thin and then it's lost a lot of its strength. So test the strength before. If you need to apply more putty, apply more putty. If you think it's good, go forward with sanding. On this glass putty, you really generally should not have to take too much off of it as far as thickness. Okay? Basically, you should be able to just knock down any high spots. Try to get the general shape of what you're going for. That's really your goal with this glass putty. It's not to make it perfectly smooth. You're not going to do that. You don't want to try to do that. You just want to, still gooey. Just lightly touch it, still gooey. So we're going to just let it be for a second here. And it is hot. We are down to a cool 97 degrees at this point. So that is all right. We got a couple here. Let me check these out. Trying to measure the hardener to putty ratio is not easy. Maybe a color key to show the correct color of the putty once the hardener is added, especially. Okay, and I get you on a color code. It's really, it doesn't change color enough to really have it doesn't change color enough to really have any kind of like an indicator like that. You really just gotta estimate it. Some people will put a glob out there and they'll just draw a line across it with the putty or with the hardener. I've seen that done many times. How many holes do I need to drill where it's cracked at the bottom, where it started to curve before adding foam? that would depend on how long your crack is, and how much of the floor you're wanting to support. So, general rule of thumb is you want to drill holes about every 4 inches along any crack or damaged area. So if you're watching the floor support instructional video, the floor crack repair kit instructional video, you see that we're working on about a 7-inch crack there. So we start out by drilling holes at both ends of the crack. So you got one hole at one end, one hole at the other end, and then we did like a diamond pattern. So I went about 1.5 to 2 inches off the crack right in the center, and then I drilled holes on the left and right of the crack. That put holes about every 4 inches or so. That's how you want to gauge that. So your foam, if you're working on a floor crack repair, your foam is not. It doesn't just continuously spread. It really only spreads about 2 or 3 inches in any direction, and then it's just going to build up in the center. So you don't want to just pump foam in one spot. So shoot some, and it goes fast, and then it's going to more than double in size. So watch that foam demonstration. Shoot your foam in smaller bursts. So I think it's better to do real small bursts in your holes as you're going through, and then if you get through and you feel like you need a little more foam, go back through your holes with short little bursts, as opposed to spraying a lot of foam in one hole and then getting to the end and not having as much. So a couple things to remember is when you're spraying foam, the foam's going to come out faster in the beginning than it does at the end. So you're going to have about 25 seconds or so of actual spray time with your foam. So, towards the end, it's going to come out slower, and the less pressure that can gets, the slower it's going to go. So in the beginning, it's going to go really fast. So you might be able to kind of adjust how long you're shooting, especially if you're on the second half of the can or something. Just be kind of aware of that. It's going to come out a lot faster in the beginning than it does at the end. So, but just spread your foam out evenly first. That's what we say. A lot of people watch the foam demonstration. They'll just dump a can into like 2 holes, and you're not getting very good coverage, and you're putting too much foam in like a concentrated area. So you don't want to do that. And basically what you do is short burst, little areas, and watch our foam demonstration. It's going to show you how much foam comes in a can. So anyway, hopefully that helps you with your question. This is still hot, so I know it's not fully cure. It's definitely still hot on the center, in the thicker spots. So I know it's not fully cured, but I also know it's getting pretty hard. I do think it's going to take one more coat. But in this case, what I'm going to do, because I think this would pay off in the end, is if I let that set up and then let it set up enough to where I can sand it, and I'm gonna sand it and try to start getting that shape, and then I'm gonna go back over it with a little bit. I don't know. That's one approach. The other approach, if you wanted to go a little faster, would be to just apply another batch now. Tough decision. Any votes in the chat? Does anybody want me just to go ahead and add another coat now, try to beef it up and make it as strong as it needs to be? Or do you want me to let this cure for another 5 or 10 minutes at least? See if I can knock it down a little bit, and try to go that route. It's really half a dozen of one and 6 of the other. So I'll let me see. And sometimes it's hard to tell exactly how strong it is if it's not fully cured, and it's still pretty hot. So I don't think it's definitely not as strong as it's gonna be. That's pretty firm though. All right. I'm going to give it another second. I'm going to take just a short breather. If you've got any questions or anything, now's a good time to ask. We're watching the chat. One thing that if I was on a job and, one thing I'd be doing right now, and I'll probably do it after the next batch, is matching my color. So, you got some downtime here. Make sure you're all cleaned up, tidy. You got things going where you want them to go. Keep your workspace clean. And you could be matching color right now. We're going to do it here in a little bit. All right, what do we got? Well, we're waiting. What is your promo code for just the putty? And if you already have leftovers of the rest of the kit from previous jobs. No promo code for just the putty, but if you wanted to find individual products, you can find them on our website, tubrepairstore.com. And you can click on one of the kits and scroll to the bottom, and you'll see individual products there. So we don't have a promo code for just the putty, but you can find individual products at the bottom of the page. So that's an option. One thing we found is people that, try to just order one thing here, one thing there, something they're really generally not as happy as if they just order the whole kit. But anyway, if you want to just get the putty, get the putty. The glass putty is in the shop. If you click on the kit and scroll to the bottom, that will get you all your putty. Thanks for your comment. And it is hot. I was thinking of what would be a politically correct way to say how hot it is. And I thought, it is hotter than two mice hugging in a wool sock. All right. Okay, it's definitely starting to cool off here. It kind of just depends on how much force you want that to be able to take. If you want it to be able to take more force, Mr. Howard has come to join me. That's my shop dog. He's getting nervous because I was punching the wall. All right, so I'm probably going to knock this down a little bit, clean up the edges, and then we'll put one more coat of glass putty on there, and that should be it. So this will take just a second. I'm going to hit the vacuum and the sander, and keep in mind my cure times are much faster than they would be if I was inside a bathroom, air conditioned. We're back up to a hot 98 degrees now, so. Hold on, I'm going to sand this down a little bit. This is not my finished sand. I'm going to sand the glass putty again after I do another batch. But I want to knock down some of these thicker spots, really try to get that shape a little bit. It's going to help me get the shape on that final batch. So here we go. All right, and I still have my 80 grit sandpaper on there. I do want 80 grit sandpaper for the glass putty. That is going to work the best. Not really trying to get a super fine finish with this one, so we'll do that on the finished putty. All right, here we go. All right. So one thing, if you got the vacuum, use the vacuum, hook it to your sander. That is going to save you just a ton of dust cleanup and everything. Keeps your place so clean. So just get a good connection with your sander and your vacuum. That's going to save you so much cleanup. That's the main thing. That's a main thing about the project is, it could be a little dusty if you don't do that. If you do that, then it's good. Okay, so what I was doing there is you saw in the beginning, I was really just going super light. I just wanted to check and see, was this going to feather out or was it too soon? Good news was it was feathering out, which means basically you don't feel a lip there. It's pretty smooth transition onto the glass putty. So that's what you want to feel. If you start sanding this off and it starts to chip off in chunks, and it's not feathering out nice and smooth around that perimeter, you probably need to stop, let that set up even longer. So it hasn't got a good bond yet, so just stop right there. So generally the way I like to approach sanding these is I like to sand around the outside, try to start to get that edge to feather, and then I go over the center, and as I'm going over the center, I'm feeling for any high spots. I'm kind of feeling for any spots that need to be taken down a little bit. Now I'm not necessarily trying to hit all the dimples. I'm not trying to knock those out. So let me zoom in on this real quick and show you. So I've got some dimples there. You'll also see some pits. I can get, okay, so there's some pits there. There's glass putty is going to have pits in it. So that's why we send the finished putty. That's one main reason why we send the finished putty, is because your glass putty is going to have pits in it. So whenever you go to spray, if you've got pits in your coating, you're going to see that, and you don't want to see those pits when you go to spray, because then you're going to really be like, dang it, why did I do that? And you'll have to essentially, either bear with it, and try to fill those pits with the paint, which is really hard, not always easy to do, or you need to wipe it off, and you need to go back and touch it up with finished putty. So anyway, we're still pretty strong here. I like how strong that is. I mean, probably not quite as strong as the wall was. I'm going to put another thin coat of glass putty on there, just because, I think it could use the strength. So that's basically it. If you're pushing on it, you're like, it feels a little weak, this would probably hold up indefinitely. To be honest, like the way it is right here, probably don't have to do another coat of glass putty. So that would be optional. I just know this will make it a little stronger. So I could do that. Actually, for purposes of this demonstration, since it's what I would consider strong enough, if this was my tub, I'd be fine with it. Is I'm going to go ahead and just move forward. We're just going to go ahead and jump into the finish putty. But just know I could put some more glass putty on there. I could strengthen that up even more. It's not very soft right now. I'm not saying that it's weak or soft right now, but I would strengthen it up if I wanted to, and I was concerned about that. You could add more strength by doing another layer. So I'm going to go ahead and move forward because it's good for this demonstration as far as showing the principles of what we're trying to do. And I think we've demonstrated that. So next, and we also have about half a can of glass putty left. So in reality, we're going to have plenty of glass putty to do another hole if I want to. We'll see what everybody wants as we start getting into this. But right now, that is not a good or smart way to use a knife, so be careful with that. Oh, hopefully you couldn't see it. Okay, good. Always when you're using a knife, cut away from your body. Just remember that. One time, quick story, I got a box knife like this, slammed into my arm. Slammed into my arm right there. Can you see that? Yeah, okay. Boom. Box cutter all the way into my arm. Right there where all the pipes run too. And I was out in the middle of nowhere, and it hit it with the, oh, we got a request. What is it? Hit it with the finish. Yeah. All right. Thank you. Thank you for validating what I was going to do. I appreciate that. And I think you understand what I was saying. It'd be pointless to go through that again. But anyway, we've put a couple layers on there. That's how you do it. So anyway, long story short, all right. So here we go. Reset. Finish putty. This is what we're working with now. This is, we're just going to be, filling in those dimpled areas, filling in those pits in that glass putty, and we're just going to give it a nice smooth finish. Okay, so this is where if you got any spots, that this is going to help you with your contour. This is going to help you get a nice smooth finish. So now, not gonna use a ton. I am gonna use probably about half a can here. So I'll show you how much I use, and I'll show you how much is in the can left. It's not gonna take half a can because I know it's you don't have to make this real thick. We're not trying to go real thick with it, but some areas might be thicker than others. If you really want to try to, sometimes the best way to get this nice contour, you really flatten it out as much as you can. Is going to be putting a good amount of finished putty on there, because this stuff is way easier to sand than the glass putty is. So always clean your sticks off, clean your tools off after you use them. I'm going to set that down there and show you how much we're using here. Doesn't look like a lot, about maybe a little less than half a can, to be honest. Probably still have about half a can. We're going to have more than enough material. If I wanted to fill in this next hole down below it, I could. We'll see. If we're bored, if we got some newcomers or something, we might do it. Blood on the fiberglass. Oh yeah, could have been if I would have nicked myself, but I didn't. But that job, actually what I was doing, and this is what I highly recommend do not do, is try to cut a PVC pipe with a box cutter. Okay, do not do that. You're gonna have to crank it hard. And it broke loose on me and literally slammed into my arm and pinned it against a cabinet. So I just slammed it. Anyway, I pulled it out real quick and blood went everywhere. And then I was flying to the, I was in a little bit of a panic because I'd never seen blood squirt out of my body like that. And so I grabbed it with everything I had, and I was driving a stick shift at the time. So I was squeezing my left arm with my right hand and shifting with my left hand as I drove back to town. And if you can kind of picture that. And I am sorry. Okay, the ratio on the finished putty is the exact same. Okay, it's the exact same ratio. It's the exact same hardener. And we're just mixing it up now. Do understand your set time on the finished putty is going to be quicker. So get that out there faster. Okay. It is easier to tell on the finished putty if you've got any spots that aren't mixed, because you will see yellow streaks a lot more than on the glass putty where you don't really see a lot of streaks. Now the finished putty especially in a 98 degree, 99. We're at 99. Are we going to get to 100? Are we going to get to 100? I don't know. But anyway, the finished putty is going to set a lot faster. And probably because I was yapping, not really moving, we're going to have to do a second coat. So I apologize for that. We'll see how smooth we can get that. I'm going to let that set up for a good, 15 minutes. In reality, with as hot as it is in here, it's probably going to be pretty well ready to sand in about 10 minutes. So what we're going to do right now is we're going to go ahead and mix up our paint and try to get this color matched, and then get our coating ready and in the jar ready to spray. So we're really on the downhill slope now, to be honest. We got one final sand on this, hopefully, unless we have to do another round, and then we just gotta spray it. So we're pretty well kind of on the downhill slope. This, whenever I'm doing service, this is where I would consider this the downhill slope. So I still got some finished putty on my pad. It's pretty well hardened up, so I'm just going to let that harden up, and then I'll flip it over if I have to use another batch on it. So set that off to the side. Okay, now it's time for the magic. It's maybe, hopefully I'm matching. Hopefully I'm matching well. Oh, we'll see. My little left butt cheek is starting to really get sore, so I had to switch to my right one. Sitting on this stuff. All right. So here's what we're gonna do. I'm gonna set this right there. Okay, and I'm just organizing my workspace. So that's something I do a lot. I'm gonna take it down so we can see the edge of the tub here. And we're just I'm gonna bring it in, really just try to, go through this. Okay. All right, so I've got things pretty well cleared up. I'm gonna go ahead and set that, I'm gonna set that putty spreader right there. Now you get 2 mixing cups, 2 mixing sticks. In reality, generally you should only need 1, unless you feel like you mess up a batch and you just need to start over. You should have enough product to do that. One like this, I'm probably going to want at least 1.5 ounces of resin, and then when I add the catalyst and reducer, it's going to work its way up to about a 3-ounce batch. So that'll be more than enough. 1 ounce would be pushing it, and I don't want to run short. That's one thing you really want to try not to do, is like not mix enough product, because then you'd find yourself needing more product, and needing more product, and then you'd have to actually just go back and match the color and everything. So okay, so the first thing all I need are the 4 colors, really. And on this tub, I know the almond's not going to be in play, to be honest. I just know that. Gray white, gold white, and gloss white are the 3 ones that I know are going to be in play. Almond is not going to be in play, so you can do that craft time. If you want to paint that on a piece of paper later or something like that, you can do that. Oh, I busted a glove, but it's okay because I'm on the downhill slope. I am going to take that glove off. In fact, I'm going to remove both my gloves for a second here. I will want to have gloves on when I do this. But what I'm going to do is I'm going to we still rolling? Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to let my hands dry off because they are soaking wet. And I am going to just kind of set this stuff off to the side. Okay. Oh. All right, so leave your catalyst, your reducer, and your primer off to the side, and let's go ahead and get ready. So we're approaching 1 hour into this project. Okay, so we're making good time. I think normally we say these level 2s can take 2 to 3 hours. So we're making fine time. Like I said, we're we're definitely, I would say, to the halfway point and probably a little past it. And you know, the heavy sanding, um, that stuff's all done. You know, that's the hardest part. You know, probably, maybe, I don't know, is what I would consider the heavy sanding was on the glass putty, and we've done that. So, all right. So I think my hands are dry enough to get gloves onto them. Maybe, maybe not. Use paper towel again. Let's see. Any new questions or anything? All right. All right. So, like I said, take your time on this part. This part, you know, don't get in a rush, especially on, you know, all of this. Just take your time. You know, you're going to be so much happier if you're patient as you go through this. You're just going to be so much happier with that finished product than if you rush it. You know, that goes for both, you know, really for all steps. You know, take your time sanding it. You know, make it a nice smooth sand. Make it a nice contour if you need to. You know, just with the color match, take that extra, you know, minute or two. You know, adjust that color another bit or so, and just try to hit it. You know, just try to hit it. Okay, what are you using for primer, and how are you applying it? We have a wipe-on primer in our kit. I'll show you what that is. I'm not applying it right now. I'm not painting the tub right now. Right now, I'm just matching color. But we give you this little bottle of wipe-on primer. All you do is you put it on a paper towel, you wipe it around on the surface before you spray. Let it dry for, you know, maybe 20 seconds in normal situations, probably about 10 right now, because we are currently at 99. We're not at 100 yet. So, but yeah, so just a simple wipe-on primer, that's it. So for now, I've got my cup. This is what I'm going to mix my paint resin in, not my catalyst, not my reducer. First, you know, kind of shake these up, make sure, you know, they haven't settled. You know, like any paint, you want to, you know, shake it up before you use it. I'm going to start with the gloss white, and we're just going to kind of see what's what here. So it doesn't take much. I'm just going to put my finger on this. I just need a little tiny bit, maybe a little tiny bit more than that. Yeah, just basically like a drop. And then swirl it around. And you want to swirl it around until it gets sticky, okay? And that's going to show you. This is quite a bit whiter than the tub color. So that's generally the case. I don't know. I might have found one tub or so, maybe a couple tubs in my day that gloss white has not been, well, or that gloss white was a perfect match for, frankly. Most times our gloss white is going to be much brighter white than any tub you're dealing with. So generally what you do with the gloss white is you use that to lighten up a color if you need to. So next, this is going to be the gold white. And this is where I'll use a different finger. I'm just going to swirl that one around. And like I said, when you're swirling these around, swirl it until it really starts to kind of just get sticky. You don't want it to just be like a liquid out there. And that's going to give you the best show of what color that is. And that's got kind of a goldish shade. So I don't think that's going to be the one. And then let's try our gray white and see where this is at. I wouldn't be surprised if we got to mix these up a little bit. So, you know, in reality, just looking at that gold, I think my gray is probably going to be closer, but it's probably still going to have to be adjusted. So just a little bit on there. Yeah, okay. So our gray's too gray. Gold's gold. But I do feel like this has more of a grayish hint, like grayish tone to it. Yeah. Okay, so you can kind of see those. Got the white, the gold, and the gray. Okay, so I am going to use just a little bit of gray in here. I'm going to probably just do about half an ounce of gray, roughly. So I'm going to go to the 1/4 ounce line. Don't don't measure your products with these mixing cups. It's a good indicator of how much you've got, but they are not perfect measurements. So we always recommend using the glass jars to really measure how much product you have, especially when it comes to adding the catalyst and reducer. So just be aware of that. Now, I could go with a couple of approaches. I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to go with gloss white and see if I can knock down that gray some. And if I have to, I might add some gold white in there to see if, because gold and gray will counteract each other. So if you feel like it's just too gray of a tone, let me see what this guy said. If you feel like it's too gray of a tone, can you spray that, especially if you're doing it all over the tub? And can you use the same primer porcelain tubs? It's not designed to be sprayed. It's designed to be wiped. It's called a wipe-on primer. It's designed to be wiped, so don't spray it. And yeah, if you're resurfacing an entire bathtub, this is not a kit for that. So I wouldn't do that with our kit, to be honest. And what was your other question? Oh, on a porcelain tub. Yeah, it's gonna work on a porcelain tub. It's kind of a universal primer, so works on pretty much any surface as just an adhesion promoter. Really, on a porcelain tub, the main thing is getting that surface prepped well. Ideally, you'll have some sort of an acid etch or something, or if you're just working on like a small chip repair or something, a lot of times you can get that surface roughed up enough surrounding that chip to where you'll have good adhesion as well. But you still want to use the primer. It's an adhesion promoter. Doesn't matter what surface it's on, it's going to promote adhesion. So we recommend it on all surfaces. Okay, so I've got gloss white and I've got gray white, and I'm just going to put a little drop there. I'm going to just swirl that, and we are much closer. Much closer, but I do feel like I'm going to have to use the gold. Gray base, bit of white, hit of gold. I think you're on it, man. I think you're on it. I think that's what we're looking at here. I'm gonna use a touch of gold. All right. And I'm only just getting up to an ounce right now. So, as dark as my gray was, I probably could have used less of a gray base. So one tip that I could say is for sure a good tip is, start out with really small amounts of paint. And you ought to be really getting close by about 1 ounce. Once you get your batch up to about an ounce, you want to be really close to that color, because you're going to take more paint to move the color, the bigger your batch gets. And so start out with a 1/4 ounce. Start out with a 1/2 ounce, add a little bit of product, and just kind of go from there. Okay, so I'm just wiping off my old swatches. I kind of know where I was leaving off, so I've got my new, I put a little bit of gold in here, about a 1/4 ounce of gold in here. And I've got it built up a little bit more. So see, and this is actually why generally what I would do is, while my glass putty is setting up, is when I will match my color, because your glass putty takes longer to set up generally. When you're 98, we're cooling off. When you're 98 degrees, it doesn't take long for it to set up, really. So that's why we got through that so fast. This is much closer. I can still see it. I still think we just need a hint of gloss and a hint of gold. You almost see it better in the shadow, can out of the shadow, but we are getting much closer. So, I think we need we just need some gloss, a little more gloss, and a little bit more gold. But one thing I would recommend is um, when you're mixing, don't mix. Try not to add two colors of anything at once, unless you're absolutely sure it's going to take both of them, because it's just better to move little by little than to be going all over the place. So I'm getting pretty close to 1.5 ounces here in the cup. Might be at 1.5 ounces now. That was gloss white that I stuck in there. Just gonna lighten this up a little bit. And even though I think it's gonna take gold, I am still going to test where we're at right here, because I could be wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe this will hit it perfect, and I'll be like, man, I wish I wouldn't have added gold, or I wouldn't even know because I already added the gold. You know what I'm saying? Oh boy. Might be a good thing I didn't add the gold. That's looking pretty good. Okay, one thing. It's so hot in here and I've got a little bit of a breeze, so I haven't been blow drying. But one thing you do want to do when you're doing your swatches, especially in an air conditioned area, is blow dry your swatches for about 10 or 15 seconds in between swatches, because your color is it's gonna darken just a little as it dries. So be aware of that. Uh, yeah, this paint is designed for resurfacing bathtubs, so commercial, I guess you would say, maybe. Uh, I mean, not necessarily commercial. It's just design. It's an acrylic urethane. It's designed for resurfacing bathtubs. So the pot life on it, once you get it all mixed, is 4 hours. Um, you know, estimated about 4 hours. If I was in a hotter environment like 99 degrees, your pot life's going to be a lot less. Okay, so just be aware of that. Okay, so this is actually looking pretty good. To be honest, I think I might go with a little more gloss instead of gold at this point, because I can just barely, and I mean, you got to kind of do your angles, look at it. I don't even know if I will do any more to it, to be honest. I'll let you kind of take a look. See that second swatch? This is the first swatch. This is the second swatch. Okay. So, I mean, we're probably going to sit tight there. I mean, if you're, you really got to work your head around, see if you can, if you're picking up any colors. That's the thing. You want to see if you're picking up any colors coming off of there. It may shine a little different given the angle of the light. And if it's a hint dark when we're spraying it on, I can even show you. I'll show you how to lighten up your mixture on the fly as you're spraying it. If I start getting a coat or two on there, and it seems non-mixed, I mean, it's not really a pot life, I don't think, until it's mixed. But as long as the lid's on the bottle, the thing should be good for at least 6 months, maybe even up to a year, I guess, if that answers your question. But I wouldn't leave just open resin sitting out without a lid on it for a super long period of time. I know it will start to thicken up, on top if you just leave it sitting there. I've done that before. Generally, you can just stir it up and it'll break up and stuff. But I think hopefully that answers. Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna go with this color. I do think it's close enough, super close, and we'll find out when we get it on there. If I start getting it on there and I'm like, this is not what I signed up for, then I will. I'll show you how to adjust the color, and I'll probably even talk about that as we're going through it. So anyway, so the first thing next I'm going to do is I'm going to just get my sprayer ready. Okay. So in your sprayer, you've got glass jar. This side's got ounce markings on it. So I am going to use my ounce marks to measure how much product I have. It goes in half ounce increments. So do that. One other thing I always do is I always take off the cap on my sprayer. Okay, so you can just discard that. I do that every time. Just seems to help. Shake your sprayer. Make sure it feels full. If this thing is like paper light, like light as a feather, doesn't feel like there's anything in there, test your spray. This one's got juice in it. I could tell it feels very full. The other thing is there's a pinhole on the bottom side of this sprayer right here on the inside. You want to keep product off of that pinhole. Okay, so don't shake your sprayer, and we'll go through how to use this sprayer here in a bit. But I'm just going to set this sprayer off to the side, and I'm going to start mixing my actual product. Okay, so kind of regarding your pot life deal, it's so hot in here, it's already kind of getting a little thick on top, so just stir that up. You know, so yeah, if you just keep your tops on it. If you got live product like this, I wouldn't just leave live cups of product lying around anyway. That's a good way to make a spill. So anyway, okay, so I'm gonna measure this. I'm gonna just pour my resin in here, and yeah, so we're hitting right at about 1.5 ounces. Kind of get the, yeah, we're like right at 1.5 ounces. So that's right where I wanted to be. That's great, and I feel like we got a good match. So we're looking good right now, I feel like. Okay, so just kind of take your time, keep your space clean, keep your stick clean. One thing I always do after well, actually I won't do it just yet because I'm still going to add my catalyst and reducer. But if you want to set your stick down, you can just set it on the side of the tub because I still got to wipe my swatches off. All right, the next things you're going to grab is the catalyst and the reducer. Okay, I don't need the primer just yet. I'm going to set that off to the side. Catalyst and reducer. We're going to get... So first thing I like to put in there is the catalyst. Okay, now this is where you got to do a little bit of math sometimes. Okay, so I know if I've got an ounce, it's 4 parts resin, 1 part catalyst, and 2 parts reducer. Okay, so if I have 1 ounce of resin, then I would need 1/4 ounce of catalyst and 1/2 ounce of reducer. Okay, so that's 4, 1, 2. Resin, catalyst, reducer. 4 parts resin, 1 part catalyst, 2 parts reducer. Okay, I have 1.5 ounces of resin in here. So I need, basically it's like 0.37. Okay, that's my minimum. So, somewhere not quite 1/2 ounce, but pretty darn close. And if you hit 1/2 ounce, it's not going to be the end of the world. So I'm just going to pour this in here, get just shy of 1/2 ounce, and I'm going to call that good. Now, there is a thing, and it is better to be a little heavy on your catalyst and reducer than to be light. Okay, you don't want to be under. Product could be too thick, so you don't mind to be a little over. So I've got, somewhere between, what would that be, 1/3 and 1/2 ounce in there. It's about where I'm at. But don't be fooled by the meniscus either. There's a meniscus in glass jars. So it's where the product will curve up the wall. It could throw you off a little bit if you're not paying attention. So now I'm going to add my reducer. And I started with 1.5 ounces of resin. So I need half of that. I need 0.75 ounces of reducer would be my minimum. Okay, so 4 parts resin, 1 part catalyst, and 2 parts reducer. So it's basically half the resin that you have. Okay, so 0.75. We're getting up there. All right, so we're a little heavier on that, but not quite to 3 ounces, but pretty darn close. Okay, so we're good. Now I'm just going to stir it up. Now, don't stir this up. Scrape the walls, scrape the sides, scrape the bottom of the jar. Really get all that resin off of there, and take your time stirring this up. Take your time through all this. Be patient, move patiently. That's going to give you a good finished product. If you get in a hurry on really any step, you'll probably be dissatisfied in some way. So take your time with all this. Stir it up well. I probably got that pretty good, but just scraping the walls, scraping the floor, and get that going. All right. All right. That. Okay. So I've got my product mixed up. I'm just going to take my sprayer and I'm going to attach it. Now the jar is primed. It's ready to rock and roll. Get that out of your way. You don't want to be knocking that all over the place. Like I said, you want to try to keep product off the bottom side of that jar, of that plastic base. So be aware of that. Now I'm wiping up. Don't forget to wipe up your swatches. It's very easy, especially once you got that good color match. It's easy to forget you got a swatch on there. So be sure to wipe up all your swatches. Okay. Alright, so I'm done with this. I'm done with that. I'm going to throw this cup in the trash. Throw that paper towel in the trash. And we are getting close. Okay, so I've got my sprayer. I'm going to set this off to the side in a safe spot. I'm getting ready to sand some more. I'm going to set all my excess product. Make sure you got your lids on them. I'm going to set those off to the side with the other products, and then our primer. I'm going to set that just over here as well. Don't forget to put that on, but it's over there. Okay. So we are pretty well there now. Now I'm ready to do a final sand on this thing. I'm going to peel off my 80 grit sandpaper. You know, still plenty of life in that piece if you wanted to use it on down the road. Certainly can. Now I've got my 120 grit sandpaper. I'm going to just put that on there. Get that ready. And we are going to sand it. All right. Oh, get backed out. Try to. Okay. Oy. Okay. All right. So I got my 120 on here. Got my vacuum hooked up to my orbital. And now I'm just going to lightly sand around the perimeter. Really try to give this a nice, smooth finish. Okay, we're getting really close. There's just a little bit of a high spot right up in here that I can feel. Just a little bit. And I'll tell you, man, uh, if you can feel it, you'll probably be able to see it once that light hits it. So, take your time sanding this. Do get this the smoothest you can. That's kind of a key thing. If you've got a lip in here that you can feel, you're going to see the lip. If you've got some contour in here, if you can feel it, you'll be able to see it. Frankly, I could probably go over this one more time with some finish putty around this perimeter, spread this out a little bit. But I'm going to try to just kind of lightly sand some of these higher spots that I feel. And I'm just going to try to knock them down a little bit. And I'm not using much pressure at all. All right. Okay. Good. All right. I think we're where we want to be here. If you're having trouble getting it and you can still feel kind of some shape to it that you don't like, go over it again with another layer of finish putty. Try to you can get that even smoother. So I'm just wiping off the surface, get that dust off. Now you're about to spray this project, so really get your dust cleaned up. You're going to be spraying the project and you're going to be using a blow dryer. So you don't want to be blowing dust into this. So really wipe down the ledge below. Really get this cleaned up well, because that's the last thing you want to do is on the home stretch, blow a bunch of dust into your finish. That's going to really, boil your berries. Very clean there. Very cleaned up. Okay. Now the home stretch. Oh, one thing I would recommend is actually down here when you're spraying. I'll be spraying right here. But whenever I'm spraying, cover this up. That's going to save you some time. At the end of it, I'm going to go ahead and go through it with acetone anyway. And wipe off any overspray that I have, but you don't want a ton of it to build up. That'll just be really obnoxious for you. So I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to actually just tape. I'm going to tape some paper towels there, and that'll keep it from getting really built up right there. a little tip I've learned: if you can minimize how much overspray you're trying to clean up, it's just generally it's just going to fall directly below whatever's below it. It's going to fall on it. So just hit it. All right, so that's gonna save me a lot of time cleaning up at the end. There, I'm happy with that. Let's roll this back up here. Okay. All right, good to go. So we're closing in on the hour and a half. I think we're at about the hour and a half mark. So not even at 2 hours, and we did even put 2 layers of glass putty on. So, you know, for saving thousands of dollars and saving this tub, investing, you know, essentially $155 is what this kit is priced at on the website right now, plus about 2 hours of your time. I think it's worth the investment. You know, I guess if I could save $5,000 in 2 hours, it's kind of like making $2,500 an hour, if you catch me on the math there. Okay, so this is the wipe-on primer, and I'm just pouring it out there. You know, you get plenty of it. Get it around the area and over the area. Okay. Now, I do want to dry that for, like I said, about 20-30 seconds before I actually spray it. You don't want it to look wet. You don't want it to look wet before you spray. All right, so we're good there. Now, with my sprayer. All right, let's do a quick talk about the sprayer. Don't shake this sprayer. Don't shake it. Don't do jerky back and forth while you're spraying it. It's going to malfunction. Okay, I like to prime the system. I like to prime the system by just spray it right side up onto a paper towel. Okay, we got a spray going. Okay, so that's how I want to prime it. Okay, we'll see if this one malfunctions. We'll walk through how to troubleshoot it. If it doesn't malfunction, I'll walk you through at the end how to troubleshoot it. Okay, so here we go. So I hold it back, you know, trying to spray directly at it. And best practice is to let off the trigger as you're changing direction, okay? Okay, all right. It is malfunctioning. It was spraying and now it's malfunctioning. In fact, I can feel it. I can feel it blowing bubbles. So this is a good exercise, good example. What we're gonna do is gonna troubleshoot it, and I'll show you how we're gonna do that. Okay, let's get this vacuum out of the way. I want my trash can here. And you need your acetone. And you'll probably want a handy paper towel. Okay. All right, so what we're gonna do is, first I'm gonna take this off, knock that out, and I'm gonna put just a touch more reducer. Okay, so this is just a little bit of reducer, not even a 1/4 ounce. I really believe my ratio is fine. Just standard procedure when somebody is doing this. A lot of times we'll say, okay, do you have your ratio right? Is it thin enough? So I'm going to go ahead and add a little more reducer and get that out of the way. So I've added that. Now I'm going to set this kind of off to the side. Okay. Now this is if your sprayer malfunctions. It should start spraying pretty quick. If you can't get it after like 5 or 10 pumps, let's go ahead and stop, and we're gonna troubleshoot it. So take your acetone, squirt it, butt it up to that straw, squirt it through the straw, squirt it, kind of clean that straw up a little bit. Okay. Straw's clean. Now, this is the important part. Okay, check your pinhole. Pinhole is clear on this, so I'm good. I'm going to point this red nozzle down towards the trash can, and I am going to just spray this. I'm going to just butt it up to there and start forcing acetone through the system. You're going to see it start to squirt out. You want to do that for a little bit until you feel like it's squirting clear. Okay, now try to just keep that acetone nozzle butted up there, right at the tip of it, and you're just squirting it through there. Okay, sometimes it helps if you kind of hold it. Okay, and it was squirting, it's running through there. Everything seems good. So that is troubleshooted. I've done that. Now I'm gonna just spray that out a little bit, and let's go ahead, put it back on, and let's test it. Okay, looks like we're spraying. So that is troubleshooting it. I would say most times, almost 8, 9, 10 times out, 8 or 9 times out of 10, that's going to work. So I believe we're spraying again. So let's try this again. Your primer is still good for now, as long as you haven't let that set for too long, like probably 10, 15, 20 minutes. If you're worried, go ahead and reprime it. I'm not too worried about it on this one, so I'm gonna just go. Okay, so back to it. We're gonna spray it. Got my blow dryer ready. Okay, so I'm not trying to cover this all at once. Okay, I can still see the repair, so can you. It is plenty thick for the first coat. Okay, so I'm gonna just lightly, I'm gonna blow dry it from a distance, and just give that a good minute to 2 minutes, depending on your temperature. So, like I said, here we're going short times. Okay, I don't know if you saw that little booger flew on there, whatever that was. So you got to check your blow dryer. If that happens, it's okay. Get you a toothpick, or in this case, I'm gonna get my box knife. Just gonna lift that out of there. And it is good that it happened on the first coat instead of the last coat. So, now one trick you can do is, if you've got little imperfections in there now, like I can see just a few little knife marks. Let me zoom you in. Just ever so slight. But what I can do is I'm going to dry that a little longer. Right now on this coat, I'm going to dry that a little longer, and then I'm going to just tap it down with my thumb. Make sure your thumb's clean when you do this. Another good practice would be is use your blow dryer, blow it off to the side. Make sure you're getting any junk out there. If it's going to blow junk, let it blow it off to the side and then move it onto the surface. So I didn't do that. I should have. That's a little tip. Okay, now I'm going to make sure my thumb's clean, and I'm just going to lightly tap right in here. And it's pretty well dry to the touch at this point. So this stuff dries to the touch pretty quick. It's not going to be fully cure but it's pretty well dry to the touch. So dry enough, we're going to move forward. I did tap down in some of that rough stuff, and I was able to rub it a little bit. And so it actually smoothed that out quite a bit. I don't think we'll even notice it once we're done. Okay, and you'll see what I was doing right there at the end was I was kind of blending it out, fading it out. That's a technique where you can kind of hit it kind of quick around the perimeter from a little bit farther away, and it's going to fade it. So okay, now one thing you want to be aware of as you're spraying this on here is like really pay close attention to your surface. Okay, on the surface as you're building it up, you can start to see right here. It's starting to get thick. Right here. It's hard to tell, but if you're in person, you can start to see it starting to get thick. So just be aware of that spot. Okay, so on the next coat, I don't want to hit that spot too hard because it's thicker there than it is in some of the other spots. So right here, I can still see it bleeding through. It's not as thick. Down here, I can't see it a whole lot bleeding through, so it's much thicker. I can start to see just a subtle ripple coming up. It's super subtle. Nothing I'm concerned about, but that's something you want to be aware of is how thick is your material, and be aware of where you're spreading the product, especially as you build it up. How thick is that material? So dry it, let it lay down. It's going to lay down, it's going to flatten some, and so just keep drying it. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to do another coat. All right. All right, this is shaping up well. I'm going to do one more for good measure. You're really looking to go from every angle you can. See if you see that blue or that green kind of shining through. Possibly a touch here, possibly. So yeah, now I'm gonna build it up a little bit more. Boom. I am feeling good about that. I've got got a little less than an ounce and a half of product left. So, like I said, 1 ounce of product, we'd be running out of product right now. If I just did 1 ounce of resin, I'd be running out of product right now. I did an ounce and a half. I've got plenty left over. So, feeling good about it. If you did find yourself in a pickle, um, you know, maybe something went wrong, you had to take that coating off and redo it. You've probably got enough to do it one more time. So, I'm very pleased with that. I'll show you what we got here. Kind of just show you. Here's the finished product. See if I can back it up a little bit. That's in about a 2-hour repair right there. A little less than 2 hours at this point. I could do another coat. I don't think I need to. I don't see anything bleeding through. I didn't really feel anything bleeding through the last time either. So I did that extra coat on there. I'm very pleased with that. So now I'm going to leave it. Okay. I'm going to leave that. You don't want to touch it. You don't want to be pushing dust up into it or anything. What I would recommend is go ahead and seal up all your leftover products. We still got about half a can of glass putty, enough to do that other hole down below. We've still got about half a can of finish putty, plenty of hardener. You're always going to have more hardener than you need. We still have plenty of paints to do another repair if we needed to. Mesh tape, everything. We've got enough to do another hole. So if you're a property manager, you're a maintenance director, you're somebody working with multiple units or something like that, and you get one of our kits, you can fix 2, maybe 3 tubs. This was a pretty large hole, honestly, with this tub. So we get property maintenance people that will they'll get one of our kits and they'll use it on 1 or 2 or 3 repairs, and then they'll start running out of a certain product. And that's why we do offer individual products on our website. So if you get in there and you're starting to use our kits and you're repairing a lot of tubs, and you're like, man, I just need more gray, white, catalyst, and reducer, jump on our website. You can buy just those products and get on down the road and get another tub repaired. So the cost per repair really goes down as you start using our systems. So highly recommend that. Okay, I want to go into one other thing. So after I've let this cure for 24 hours, what I'm going to do is I'm going to come back. I'm going to feel the surface. I don't want to do it right now, and I want to generally give this about 24 hours to let it cure. So at least overnight, and then come back, feel the surface. If you feel any rough areas, okay, and I'm talking on the repair. So after this, I can peel off my paper towels down below, and I can wipe the surface down below if there's any rough spots down there. That's no problem. You don't want to go wiping acetone around on this because you're going to create a hard line. It's going to be noticeable. You'll be very unhappy with this situation. So once you're happy with how this looks, don't touch it. Okay, just leave it be. When we come back, you're going to take your finished sandpaper. So you've got actually what would be 1,000, 2,000, 3,000 grit sandpaper. Okay, you're going to come back maybe with a bottle of water, a cup of water, or something, and a paper towel. Get that surface really wet, and then you're just going to lightly sand any rough areas. You're going to knock down any rough areas that need to be knocked down. If you got some overspray, maybe that's down in here, you'll knock some of that off, and just kind of smooth that out a little bit. So that's what this is for. Just save it after it cures. Also, once this is cured, you don't want to clean it with bleach. Okay, that's the main no-no, is don't clean it with bleach, because bleach is going to discolor it. It's going to kind of give it a kind of a yellowish tint, kind of a burnt umber tint or something. You don't want to do that over time. That'll mess with that. So don't clean it with bleach products after you've made a repair. If you've repaired something on the floor, you don't want to use a shower mat that has, especially one that has suction cups on it. You don't want to keep this thing perpetually wet. Have you ever used blending material so you don't have to so you don't have the dry edge showing where it melts the edge of the new color into the old for a more uniform look. I have used spray blenders. I used to use those on projects sometimes. It's definitely an approach. I don't think it's absolutely necessary. This looks really fantastic as it is. Edge blender is pretty expensive stuff by the can. I think we were paying 45 or 50 bucks a can. It's not necessary on everything. If you did this professionally, I would say, yeah, keep a can of edge blender in your kit, because it might help you sometime when you're maybe having trouble getting that color to really match perfectly. It's gonna probably help blend that color a little better. So yeah, the edge blender is not a bad tool to have in your kit, especially if you're doing a lot of these. But it's also something that you want to have on hand when you're doing the repair. It's not something you want to go back and do after the repair is cured. So that's what I would say. Is I have used it. I did carry it around on me whenever I was running the repair service, but I really didn't use it, probably less than maybe 10% of the time, so something like that. Ladies and gentlemen, we have reached 100 degrees. I just thought, bam, 100, nailed it. So anyway, thanks for hanging with me. But okay, so we've got this done. We got the finished sandpaper. That's really the next step. Bag up all your stuff, keep it good, keep it in an air-conditioned place, and it's going to stay good for quite a while. I'd say probably 3 to 6 months after you've opened it up. The paints would be the first things I'd say would probably be questionable. And as long as they're liquid, you're good to go. So that'd be the main thing. Your sprayer. Let's go ahead and do that next. Okay, I've talked to you about the finished putty, or about the finished sandpaper. Now we're just going to finish up the project. And we already went through how to troubleshoot. We already went through how to troubleshoot a sprayer. So now cleaning out the sprayer is exactly the same. So that's all you do. When you clean out a sprayer, you just do it like you were troubleshooting it, except you clean out the jar as well. So I'm gonna take this, and one thing I will say, a little tip. Somebody was wanting some tips along the way. Here's a little tip I've learned. Throw out your paint and clean out your sprayer at the very end. Okay, at the absolute very end. If you you're going along, something happens to your repair, you go back and look at it and you're like, oh man, I missed a spot, or I didn't get it thick enough there, or something got in it and I need to kind of just touch that up and dab it. Maybe I want to hit it with just a little bit of spray. I'm telling you, clean your product out at the very end. And you better, just be sure, you're not going to, your repair is where you want it, and you're not going to want this product back. That's the main thing, because once you dump it out, it's dumped out. So first I clean out the straw. Now I'm just cleaning out the sprayer, and I'm just running it through the system until it starts squirting clear. And you really, when you're doing this, you want it to be squirting. Okay, you don't want just little drips. It does help if you just hold this on there like this, and you want it to be squirting. You can get it to squirt with this thing. It doesn't fit in the hole, but it will fit on the hole, and you can get it snug enough to where it'll squirt. And you want it squirting. That is the best sign that it's going to work out. So now I'm just dumping out my excess product into the trash. And go ahead and get you some acetone. And this is probably where you use most of your acetone, to be honest, cleaning out this system. And actually, probably what I'll do, and I would not don't throw this sprayer away. Keep that sprayer on hand. So it's it'll even be a handy little deal down the road too. So I just dumped a little in there. In fact, I'll just dump that out because it's pretty thick. But that got a lot of it. I'm going to dump a little more in there. Just take a paper towel, wipe it out. All right, glass is pretty clean enough. And so I just drop my straw back in there, put this back on. That's going to be good to go for at least another job or two, probably maybe a job or maybe two more jobs depending on the size. Save your acetone bottle, you know. If you're a maintenance man or somebody that does a lot of these, you're going to probably have a little spray bottle that you like to use acetone. You know, I definitely, you know, you can get better spray bottles than what we give you, but what we give you works, and it works quite well. So, all right, now I'm just peeling off that. I am going to go ahead. I probably should have left my glove on, but I am going to go ahead and do one little final wipe down here at the bottom, just to feel if I've got any overspray going down here. A little bit back here in the corner. I knew I kind of would. I almost put a paper towel over there, but I also knew that it'd be easy to clean up, so went with it. All right. All right. There we are. All right, folks. That is a large wall repair kit. I've got enough product to do at least one more repair. Probably another repair that size. If I wanted to hit that hole right there, I totally could. I'm 100% sure I would have enough product to repair that hole as well. You know, one large wall repair kit would hit that hole. So no problem there. That's the finished product. Very pleased with it. If you've done these before, you know the camera picks up color a little better than, or a little more than, you know, in real life. I can't even see that. So very pleased with it. Thank you all for sticking around, watching. Thank you for the questions. Let us know if you have any other questions. Right now, we do have a discount code going on for a very limited time. If you were on this and you're still on this, use discount code Liberty for 10% off. Yeah, discount code Liberty, 10% off. Thanks for watching. And if you have any questions, you know, message us, email us, call us. You know, we're here to help you. So, all right. Love you guys. Have a great weekend. Try to stay cool out there. I cannot wait till fall. So, you guys, thank you so much. We'll talk to you later.